Hello, Rachel. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. If you would mind introducing yourself to everyone.
Yeah, hi, my name's Rachel, and I live in West Cumbria with my husband and now a daughter.
Nice. And how old is your daughter now?
She is 5.5 months.
Oh
Yeah,
my God,
so
it's
yeah,
going so
she's a big girl
fast.
and she knows her
Is
own mind.
she? Oh,
Yeah,
I love it. I love it. I feel like we
very
need the
independent.
girls. We need them to be like that these days,
Yeah,
don't we?
I feel
It's
very proud
good.
of that. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I have two girls and I feel like it's really hard raising a girl who knows her own mind. Like it's tough, but it's so good for them when they're older. Like I feel like it's hard when they're young, but when
yeah,
they're older, it's that's what they need to be like.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, yeah,
Oh, how nice. So you're here to share your birth story.
yeah.
What was it that kind of got you interested in hypnobirthing? How come you went down that path?
Yeah, so it was something that I'd heard like a few people talk about kind of quite a long time before I was ready to think about having kids. So I was aware of it. Definitely fell into the trap that I think a lot of people do. The name is definitely a bit of
Yeah.
a or I think for me, yeah, I've definitely changed a lot as I've grown in adulthood, but I definitely was quite a like straight and
Yeah.
traditional person.
Right.
But actually I've definitely become less like that. Yeah, so the name did make me think, oh, I'm not sure if that would be for me. Yeah, but it was interesting before I was thinking about having kids, I had had a conversation about birth with my cousin's wife, who just had like a really lovely positive birth. She didn't do hypnobirthing, but she had a very different perspective than
Oh.
the kind of the ones that I've heard and that are in the media. And so she was just gave quite like she wasn't really giving advice. She was just sharing a story, and it was just very sage. And so when I did get pregnant, I really, yeah, I just remembered that and thought, oh, actually, you can have positive,
Yeah.
yeah, positive birth, which is quite exciting. Um, so I when I got pregnant, I my husband and I were on a sabbatical
Oh.
in Southern Africa, which was very
Oh,
exciting.
wow.
So
That is.
I basically spent my whole pregnancy, yeah, on my in-laws' farm in yeah, a tiny country called Eswatini. So
Wow.
so I was living my best life.
What was that like? What was it like being pregnant there? Like somewhere like that where it's so like far from home and not what you're
Yeah.
used to?
Yeah, so I knew the country quite well. I was very comfortable there. Don't know if maybe I did think about it too much before I got pregnant. Like, yeah, but actually, I got really good care. My mother-in-law recommended a private consultant, and
Amazing.
he was just lovely. He was just like the most lovely man, and it's just so different from the UK because she had got the number from a friend, and she just forwarded me his WhatsApp number, and I'm like,
Oh
okay,
my
this is
God.
a bit weird, and I didn't know what to do, and I felt a bit awkward about calling the number. So I like tried to find a patient line. That's what we do,
Yeah.
phone a patient line. But I couldn't find anything. I think I tried phoning the hospital and nobody answered. So eventually I just phoned this number and he answered. And I was like, what? Like, what world do you just phone a consultant on their WhatsApp? And he answered, but he was so friendly. And he's like, I'll see you. Like, I'll like book you in tomorrow. And so
That's
he
so,
was
it's so casual.
a nice
I love
man.
it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So we had very personal care, like personalized care. Yeah, he just like he knew my father-in-law and he wanted to chat to us and he seemed to really care about us, which so while I think the care is interesting for pregnancy, it was amazing. For birth, I think it would have been maybe more medical than would
Okay.
have been my
Yeah.
preference, but he was just wonderful. He was perfect. I couldn't, yeah,
Yeah.
speak
So
highly of him.
had you always planned, you gave birth back here, did you?
Yeah, I came
Had
back
you
when I
always
was
planned that?
30 weeks pregnant. Yeah.
Wow. And did you not ever consider giving birth there just because it would have been more medical?
We were coming back anyway. So
Okay.
the timeline was such that I knew that I was going to be back by the time
Right.
my husband was due back at work and stuff.
Okay.
So it was always in the plan to come back. And I think if there had been, I had a very straightforward pregnancy, which I was
Yeah.
so grateful for. I was very healthy. My daughter was
Yeah.
very healthy. I think if there had been any complications, we might have
Mm,
changed our mind. We might have come back at a different point. But
yeah.
I was well. We were well cared for, and we just like cracked
Yeah.
on really. Um,
How was it coming back into the system here at 30 weeks? Like, how does that work?
it was a bit. I honestly, I was quite. It's quite interesting. I think, and this ties into the. I because I was living my best life on the farm. There was a lot to do, and we were actually working quite hard. I basically didn't think about it. most of the pregnancy. I
Right.
didn't think about birth. I knew I needed to, but I just kind of left everything to like, oh, I'll sort it when I get home.
Yeah.
Um, which was actually fine, if slightly like stressful in the moment of coming back. But yeah, they basically, I phoned them up as the minute I landed. My mum was like, will you please book yourself in? So I phoned them and they were like, oh, okay. Do you want to come down Monday? Like, see you ASAP. So no, they were great. They got me booking. I had to do
Good.
a booking appointment again. So that was
Yeah.
quite funny. They were like,
Yeah.
oh, that's not relevant. That's not relevant. You are 30 weeks. So
Did they need to do like scans, I suppose?
I had to redo everything, which is
Yeah.
totally understandable. Yeah. But we knew
Yeah.
everything had been fine,
Of
and we had all our
course.
records, but they just wanted to have their own records.
Yeah.
But yeah, but on the hypnobirthing, I kind of I think we were just about to leave Eswatini, and I had like an free afternoon, and I was sort of starting to get into the headspace of, right, okay, we're going home now. And I think we had terrible Wi-Fi in our cottage. It was very like cut out and stuff. And I'd wanted to spend like a quiet afternoon crocheting baby blankets.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, I can't stream anything because the Wi-Fi is not good enough, but I could probably stream a podcast. So I started
Yeah.
like just Googling random podcasts, and I thought, oh, maybe this would be a time to think about, birth or parenting or something. So I was looking for something
Yeah.
related to, yeah, being a parent or giving birth, and I found your podcast, and
Wow.
I basically just started binging it
Did
from that
you?
point on. And I know that a lot of other people have said that
Yeah.
they just like binged all the episodes, but I totally did. I cried at all the
I'm
stories.
just I'm just
Yeah.
thinking about my one listener that I've got in. Is it Eswatini, did you say? The
Yeah.
name of the country? My
Yeah.
one listener that comes from there is you.
Yeah, that was me. Oh, now you have another one because I recommended to a friend. So
Yay! That's
you
so
never know. You might
fun.
be famous in Eswatini very soon.
I'm famous there basically. But
Yeah.
it's funny because I sometimes look at where the podcast gets listened to, and obviously like the
Yeah.
main country is obviously UK and then US, Canada, like all the ones you'd kind of expect. But there are like some really teeny tiny countries that have like one listener.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
you must have been like on my stat at some point from that country. And that's just like so mind blowing to me. I just find
Yeah.
it so like wild that it can hit.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, everything on the internet is like accessible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everywhere, really. But yeah, I always find it crazy. I always often wonder, like, who is that one person that's listening from that
No,
country?
no. Yeah.
And there you go, there you are.
Yeah. So, yeah, I have literally recommended the podcast to so many people as well. My
Oh, bless you.
sister-in-law,
Thank you.
yeah, it was funny because my sister-in-law was pregnant at the same time, and my daughter and her son were due a week apart. And we didn't know or anything, so that was hilarious when we found out that we were
How
both pregnant at the same
funny.
time. But when I found your podcast, I also recommended to her, and she also really enjoyed it. So,
Oh, thank you.
yeah.
That's nice of you.
So yeah, so I think that was really the kind of start of like, oh, this makes sense. But I think it just gelled with me straight away. I think the birth stories in themselves were incredible in terms of just the breadth of experience and realizing that hypnobirthing is for all kinds of births and all kinds of scenarios. But I think when we were talking about more the like specifics of hypnobirthing and how it works, that really gelled with me as well, because yeah, I had suffered from chronic pain for quite a few years, and
Right.
yeah, it's a long story probably, but basically was unable to get help through like traditional medical routes, and in the end able to kind of get better through treating the central nervous system and treating dysregulation
Wow.
in the central nervous system. And so, and
Wow.
again, as I said before, like a very traditional kind of person,
Yeah.
quite like quite highly strung, which
Yeah. No, yeah. But
that work was very transformational for me as a
yeah.
person. And so when you started, so I also did your digital course,
Oh,
but
did
when you
you?
were talking about the central nervous system,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I understand this. This is my
Yeah.
language, and I know how scientific it is. I know that it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
And I think when you have a period of chronic pain or you experience that,
Mm.
there's two quite difficult things that happen. And one is that you is very often accompanied by chronic fear and fear of
Yeah.
pain. And the other
Yeah.
thing is you totally lose trust in your
Yeah, I
own
can
body
see that. Yeah.
completely. And so for the longest time, I really thought my body was completely broken. I had no trust in it. I was terrified of the next thing that might go wrong, the next pain.
Mm.
So to then learn, so I had learned a lot to trust myself, trust my body again, to think positively of it. So then to find that hypnobirthing was reinforcing that, was like to be speaking, actually, it can do this. It's amazing. It knows what it's doing. Was so, it just all fed into this amazing, like positive kind of loop that it sort of reinforced my healing, and my healing reinforced the hypnobirthing. And so it was a really special experience for me from that perspective.
It sounds it. How amazing that like you had that experience of both of those things, you know, and also coming from something that was obviously very negative for you to turn it into actually a positive experience of learning and healing and things like that. So special.
Yeah. So I'm a massive hypnobirthing convert.
Yay.
Really awesome.
I mean, it is, you know, I'm very conventional as well. I think this is the thing with it, is that I'm a bit like, I can be a little bit on the woo-woo side. Like I like some of that side of stuff, but I'm also really conventional. And I think that is such like a common misconception of it, that it is woo-woo, but actually it is so scientific and logical, and it speaks to the logical part of people's brains, because that is what it is, and people are searching for logic, aren't they? They want to understand things.
And I think it also speaks to just like the broader part of being human. Like, we're not just physical, we are mental, emotional, spiritual. Like, we are all of those things all at once, and we are not divided, compartmentalized. And I think more and more though, people are realizing that, which I think is a really healthy thing. So no, it was fantastic to discover.
Amazing.
Some great tools.
So how did you then start, like you said you didn't think much about the birth before, how did you then kind of start to think about how you might like to give birth?
So through listening to the podcast, I learnt so much. Like, I just was so ignorant, and to be honest, like, we did do an antenatal class when I came home, in our NHS trust day. I think much to the dismay of the midwife who delivered it, they'd cut it down to 2 hours. And so she was like, all we've asked women what they want, and all we can do is basically labor and birth. And she did a fantastic job. And she ended up being one of my community midwives, and she was amazing. But I think she would have loved to have gone into like more detail. So listening to the podcast and listening to other people's stories, I just realized how ignorant I was. Like,
I mean, we all are, aren't we, though, until you learn.
So I found your digital course really helpful for that, and just like, actually now I know what's actually going to happen. It's not just this sort of big unknown thing. And again, I think, as I say, quite conventional. I think initially I would have sort of assumed, well, you just go to hospital and have your baby, that's what you do, without thinking of any of the details. And then I did toy with the idea of a home birth, and I think I would have never ever been that person that said that. And I toyed with the idea, and I eventually decided against it. And the only reason I decided against it is because I live in a mid-terrace. And I thought, I might well be quite noisy. And if I am worried about what the neighbors think, then it will actually put me off even more. So that was the reason I actually decided against it in the end. Although I was like, oh, that'd be sad. Maybe next baby.
You never know.
So I sort of thought, well, I will go into hospital, but I'll try as hard as I can to stay at home for as long as possible, and keep that and really focus on that environment. And then I thought that I would quite like to have a water birth if I could. There was only one pool room available at a local hospital, but again, according to community midwife, she said actually it's quite often, everybody assumes it's hard to get, but it's quite often not used. If people are high risk, then often they don't use it. So she said just ask for it. Every occasion, ask for it. So that was really good advice. Spoiler, I did actually get the pool, which was very nice. So I just I really enjoyed the preparation. The learning was fantastic, and I started, I just listened to the podcast as much as I could. I started, as I got a little bit closer, to do like the meditation and affirmations. Again, I think affirmations was something I didn't expect to like. I expected to find that very awkward and very weird. But I found it really helpful, particularly in moments of anxiety and stress, maybe
Mm.
more so then than actually in the actual birth. Having had affirmations pre-written out, I found that I could just latch onto those rather than go with my thoughts, which might have been
Yeah.
spiraling. And I
Yeah.
think that that really helped me. Yeah, it just really helped me through a few
Yeah.
anxious moments.
It's a focus, isn't it? It's like something to
Really.
focus your thoughts on.
Yeah, yeah. And I think what you tell yourself is really powerful.
Mm.
And sometimes you can slip into quite a negative space and you're even talking to
Mm.
yourself in quite a negative way or
Yeah.
without even realizing it. So to be
Yeah.
very intentional about the messages that you're giving yourself, the messages, the
Yeah.
things you're speaking over that was I found
Yeah.
helpful. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
So how did the birth end up going?
Well, yeah, it was the actual birth was it was so positive, but the journey to it was also positive, but it was hard.
Okay. Yeah.
It was like quite a roller coaster. So
Okay.
it, yeah, after we got back and everything was kind of we sort of registered and everything, just kind of regular appointments, and I'm just cracking on. I'm very like in the zone, like doing my meditations, like I'm like ready. I'm so excited to have this birth. I really got to that point where I was excited. And then I went for my regular midwife appointment at 36 weeks. And she was like, "Oh, baby might be breech." And I was like, "Oh,
Oh.
okay." That was a bit of a. And I sort of wasn't surprised because that weekend I had felt her do a quite
Oh.
big turn.
Mm.
But we nicknamed her Wiglet. That was her like in utero name because she never stopped moving. She was just
Oh.
all over the place all the time, which I absolutely loved. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I had felt quite a big turn, and I thought either she's turned so that she's head down, or she's gone the other way, and I couldn't tell. But midwife wasn't 100% sure, so she said, "Okay, I think we'll just send you for a scan because obviously at this stage we prefer it if
Yeah.
she was head down, ready to go." So
Yeah.
I did know that what that potentially had meant, and I think I did find that really difficult.
Yeah.
So I decided we'll wait for the scan and see. But yeah, she was breech.
She's rich. Mm.
So I kind of came away from that, and like I did feel like it was a bit of a blow. I think it highlighted to me how much I had been holding on to this kind
Hmm.
of natural birth in a certain way. And I think it highlighted that maybe I wasn't as flexible as I had maybe let
Yeah.
myself believe that I was.
Yeah.
And so I was really trying to consider my options. I think that's when I reached out to you for a bit more information. I wanted to
Yeah.
know about like whether I could consider having a
Yeah.
natural vaginal delivery. I mentioned this to my community midwife, and she looked at me like I had three heads. Uh, and she was like, "Well, we don't see them very often." I was like,
Well,
"Okay."
no, but they do happen.
So yeah, so I think you
Oh,
sent me
perfect.
some really interesting information about that.
Yeah.
And there's some podcasts from Australia and
Yes.
some articles I think I read.
Did I
Um,
send you the tracks, the
and you
relaxation
also
tracks?
sent me the
Yeah.
track. And
Yeah,
so
they're good.
yeah, so I just kind of I tried to just explore all of the things.
Hmm.
This was actually in the space of only like 24 hours, but it felt like a lifetime.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was trying to decide what to do. So anyway, I really committed myself to these tracks that you sent.
Good. Yes.
And the other thing was, I think the exercises, and there was a YouTube video of like things that you
Yeah.
can do to create a bit more space. So I
Yeah.
literally spent all of the Thursday. I was booked in to see the consultant on the Friday, and I spent the whole Thursday like basically kind of like upside down and listening to
Yeah.
these music tracks. I didn't do anything else all day. And then that evening, I was like, well, she turned when I was in the bath last weekend, so
Oh.
I'll have a bath. And one of the things that had actually really upset me about the whole thing was not so the idea of the birth might be being different potentially had upset me. But one thing I'd noticed was the minute that people realized she was breech, the whole conversation became so like medical and detached from her. And I started to feel
Mm.
really detached from her. Like I
Oh,
really
yeah.
felt like that like mother baby connection was really disrupted.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
feel like she was bad or naughty or done something wrong. And
Yeah. I get
I
that.
really, like bothered me.
Yeah. You
And
feel like you're not, it's almost like you're made to feel like you're not like a little team anymore because she's doing
mm,
something that she like shouldn't be doing.
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I can totally understand why you would suddenly feel like you're on different pages almost with her.
Yeah, and
Mm.
I felt like really guilty about it because I thought, well,
Yeah.
she's just a baby. She's just unborn
Yeah.
me. She's just doing her thing in
Yeah.
there, and
Yeah.
it's the thing that you've said so many times, baby knows best.
Yeah.
And I really struggled with that actually, and I
Mm.
thought, well, if she wants to be breech and that is what's best for her, I have to just go with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lovely moment in the tracks where they encourage you to like talk to baby. And so we had this lovely little moment in the bath, and
Oh.
I was just like chatting to her, and I was like, if this is right and you want to stay breech, that's okay. We'll make it work.
Oh.
But and then they're like, well, how about you gently suggest to baby that some babies, most babies, like to be head down. And it's just the way that they said it was so funny. So I was like, some babies really like to be head down at this stage, and you might want to consider it, having these
That's
conversations.
amazing.
And I thought I could feel her starting to move.
Stop.
So I was like, oh, is she moved? But she moved a lot anyways. It was quite hard to tell. So I just kept calm. I stayed on my ball, came at the back, stayed on my ball. I said to my husband, I was like, I do think she's like doing a fairly significant turn, but I just, we'll go with it. Listen to the tracks some more. I listened to them so many times.
I honestly, those tracks, I know
In-
I sound insane when I say it, but like I rate them so highly for how effective they are.
Yeah, yeah. And I have to admit, I was really skeptical. I really
Yes,
was.
it's
I was
fair
like, I'll
enough.
try
Yeah,
anything.
I know.
Yeah,
But it's fair enough to feel like that because I feel
yeah,
like because if I send them to people, I always say like, I have had good success with these tracks before. Like I do know it sounds crazy. I understand that it sounds
yeah,
crazy, but the like the effect that they've had
yeah,
on so many people I've sent them to,
yeah.
you can't deny it. Like
No,
they are just
no,
very effective.
I know. And I think it just reinforced that thing, like actually that mother baby connection, as you say, the little team
Yes.
is so important. And I
Yes.
think actually, even if she hadn't have turned, the
Yeah.
fact that I got that back really
Yeah.
mattered. So that was really
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
But so the next morning when I woke up, we were going to this consultant appointment. I said to my husband, I was like, oh, I think I felt a turn last night. But he had a feel and he was like, oh, but there's something still really hard there. Like, I'm not sure if she has, and just prepare yourself
Yeah.
for that. And so I said, okay. So I was like quite prepared that maybe she hadn't, because I'd had quite a hard, I could feel her head, it was like quite a hard lump there. And it did
Right.
still feel quite hard. And I was like, okay. So we
Okay.
went to the hospital and did all the usual pre-checks they do before you see the consultant, and went and see the midwife, and she was like, "Oh, do you mind if I just have a wee feel of your tummy?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course, yeah, yeah, no problem." So and she's just like, I don't think she knew why I was there. So she had a little
Oh.
feel, and then she went, "Oh yeah, and I think that's a nice head down there." And I was like,
Stop.
did you say head down?" Just
Oh
to
my
confirm.
God.
And she was like, I think so. And just I'm doubting myself. I think you do realize that's why I'm here. And she was like, oh, okay. No, it's so she's like, okay, we should confirm that. Let me try and find a sonographer who can confirm. So she's like rushing around trying to find someone who can squeeze me in. And so I'm now again trying not to get too
Yes.
excited in case she wasn't.
Yes.
But anyway, so they squeezed me and they like drag me into this, squeeze me in between patients, and yeah, confirmed that yeah, she had turned.
Oh my God, that's
And at the
amazing.
11th hour, and I was bang on 37 weeks that day, and on one. But yeah,
Oh, how
re-
amazing is that though? But
yeah,
like
incredible.
you put so much effort into that as well. Like you
Mhm.
really did, and you did that work. Yeah, that those tracks are useful, but you have to actually do the work that comes
Yeah,
with them. You have to do
yeah.
it, and you did probably all of those like forward leaning inversions and things
Oh
like
yeah,
that to
many of
try
them.
and get her to
Many of
shift. And also, like you said, you just kind of perhaps got that like trust back in her that she
them.
was doing what she needed to do, which maybe like calmed your nervous system a little bit,
Yeah,
and subconsciously calmed you. And all of those things together, like that's what helped her turn back.
yeah.
It's so powerful. It's amazing. I love that so
It
much.
was it was absolutely I could not believe it. It
I
was,
bet. I bet.
and I hadn't told anyone that she was breech, only my mum and dad, because I hadn't decided what I was going to do if
Yeah.
she had stayed breech, and I was very conscious there would be a lot of
Yeah.
opinions and things, so I'd kept it very private. But I was also, yeah, the anxiety as well of that. The hypnobirthing really helped. I did so much breathing and just acknowledging that I was anxious and I was a bit scared. And one of the things that really, one of the like pain tools that actually really ties into it is that you do something called somatic tracking, which is when you do it often with pain, where you just notice where the pain is in your body, but you can do it with emotions as well, and you just watch it. And so when I use this as the story goes on, you'll see also my anxious times, but I used it just to watch, where am I feeling the anxiety? Am I feeling it in my stomach? Am I feeling it in my chest? And just breathing it, just watching it and just letting it be. And that helped so much as well, just to like, actually, it could just get through the next, few hours. Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I did cry when
I was going to ask you, did you cry?
So like unprofessional. They probably like, oh, and this midwife, and she was like, oh, I've still got it. I'm right. I was right. And I just gave her a massive hug and started crying. And then the consultant was a bit like, so why are you here? And I was like, I would like not to be here, to be honest.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, everything's good, and she's now in the right position. I don't need you to be here. And I was like, great.
Good. Yes.
Leaving pronto. Yeah. So that was like a little kind of blip. Not blip. No, it wasn't. It was all part of the story.
Part of your story, yeah.
Reflection point, if you like. But one good thing also that came out of that was I realized I didn't have a birth plan for a C-section.
Oh, okay.
And actually, I was like, that's a bit naive and probably a bit foolish. So I thought, actually, anything could happen, and I want to have thought about it. So that was a really good thing. So I went away and I wrote a birth plan for a C-section, and I just became much more okay with that idea in any scenario. So that was really good. And then we just went back to waiting. It was 37 weeks. So okay, we're back to how everything was before. And I think things just kind of progressed pretty normally for the next few weeks. And then when
sorry to interrupt you, were you worried about her turning again?
I was a little bit. Yeah.
Did you avoid the bath?
I did subconsciously.
Yeah.
I did. But my husband was so good, because he was like, look, if she turns again, she could turn herself back. Like, we know that she can.
She's done it.
And he's like, we'll just tackle it as it comes. Yeah. And I think actually the whole thing was, up until she was born, because I did wait quite a long time for her, as you it became about just taking each day as it comes. And I think that was probably one of the biggest learning. I was like, okay, she's good today. I think after a couple of weeks of her staying in the same position, I was like, I think it's unlikely that she's going to turn now. Things happen. But definitely initially I was quite nervous about that.
Yeah, no, it's fair, yeah.
But I knew I had the tracks, and I was like, if they work, actually, they were, I don't know. But,
you can rely on those.
Yeah. So I think my midwife, though, my community midwife, did want to see me every week after that, because she wanted to make sure that was funny business.
Funny business.
So then when I was my 39th week, I was probably like, I was 39. My nephew was born. So but he was actually due after my daughter. So it started my waiting quite early. And so so he was born on the 1st of December, which was really exciting, and she was due on the 5th. So it was really interesting, because my sister-in-law also had a really positive birth, very different from mine. But I was quite conscious. I really wanted to. We chatted quite a lot, but I was like, I'm going to ask you about your birth story after I've had mine, because they were so close together. I just details and things like that. I was like, it was beautiful to me. But no, she was very gracious, and she just shared the baby with me and waited. Afterwards, we had after my daughter was born, we had a lovely session
debrief.
Stories, but it did make me feel like I started waiting once he was born, because they were like, so you go to your regular appointments and everything's sort of like going as normal. But I think something that did surprise me was I think I wasn't even at my due date yet, and already they were talking about like induction.
Mm.
And I had decided that I didn't want one. And I
Hmm.
said to I had it in my birth plan. I said to my community midwife, I said, I don't want any intervention unless it's for a medical reason. I don't want
Yeah.
anything until 42
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah.
And she had the whole time, yeah, absolutely no problem. More natural, the better type thing. She was so supportive. And so I think just before my due date, she was saying, are you still fine with that plan? Like, is that still the plan? And I said, yeah, it's still the plan.
Mm.
So I assumed kind of that would all be fine. The following week, now I think I was maybe like 40, yeah, 40 plus four. She was actually on holiday, and I saw a
Oh,
different community midwife who I think it was actually an amazing thing because she turned out to be an amazing source of support and backup.
great.
So she was saying, yeah, totally fine that you don't want to have an induction. She was like, I don't blame you, to be honest, which was, it was nice to have that, like,
Yeah.
you know, affirmation,
Validated.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah, validation, that's the word.
Yeah.
But I think because now I was very, very pregnant, she had met, they do the fundal height measurements.
Mm.
I had dropped a percentile, or
Right.
I dropped it, it had changed. And she was like, oh, because the line has dipped, she was like, you have to have a scan. And she said,
Mm.
I'm not worried because everything else seems fine, but I think it's probably just because the baby's dropped and you're a
Hmm.
different shape, but that is the policy. And, so she was like,
And
I'm,
also, she was a different person doing it, which makes a big
yeah,
difference. Like the
mm,
if you have a consistent midwife doing the measurements and
yeah,
there's a big change, then that's like relevant. Whereas if it's a different, they just all have such a different way of doing it
yeah,
that
yeah.
actually it's not uncommon for it to change when you do have a different midwife.
Person, yeah, of course, yeah. And
Yeah.
they also didn't have that many measurements for me because I'd only been
Right.
around for a few weeks. So
Of course.
so it was only, yeah, it was maybe honestly only 3 or 4 measurements that they had.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
um, so she was great though because she was so direct about everything, and
Yeah.
she was like, I don't think there's a problem. And we discussed induction as well. And
Hmm.
I actually asked for the full, if we get there, because I'd sort of decided I don't want one, but in the scenario that I go past
Hmm.
42 weeks, let me just know
Yeah.
about it. So she
Yeah.
gave me so much time. She explained everything. And I really appreciated that because I think she was probably one of the only people that gave it to me straight,
Great.
honestly.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'd said to us, like, the thing I really don't want is the Syntocin, the synthetic
Yeah.
oxytocin. She said, honestly, I don't blame you for that. And if you do get there and that does happen, just have a good think about your pain relief options because
Yeah.
just it isn't your body doing it. And nobody else ever said that the whole
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. No,
Well, I
it's
did know
hard.
that
Yeah.
from the podcast.
Yeah.
But I was thinking if I
Yeah.
didn't know that, nobody
Yeah.
else said that.
Do you know what's really interesting? My mother-in-law, she was a midwife for many, many years. And I remember when I was pregnant first time, I remember her saying the same thing to me. I remember her saying to me, if you end up being induced, she was like, get an epidural. I just always
Yeah,
remember that was what she said to
yeah.
me.
That's basically what
And
I said to
yeah,
me. Yeah.
like how interesting that
So
kind of
interesting.
one person who's gonna, be honest of their experience, I suppose,
Yeah,
of it,
yeah.
to say that. And I always thought that, yeah, I always thought that in my head that
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, interesting. Yeah, I have so many thoughts on that, but no, but
Yeah.
yes, I really appreciated how straight she was with me.
Yeah.
But she said, look, just so you know, the trust policy is for continuous monitoring after, I
Hmm.
think it was after you've gone past your due date by 12 days. She said I
Yeah.
think that's what she said. She said it used to be longer. And she said, I'm going to have to speak to the matron about it, but I'm just going to give her the full picture and I'll call you later. And she did, and she said, again, she said, look, we've got the scan booked for you, and she said the matron does want to speak to you, and she said, what I don't want is for you to feel under pressure because I now know that this is going to feel pressurizing, but actually it's not 12 days, it's now changed to 7 days. So I was now approaching the point of like
Right.
needing continuous, or they were wanting to do continuous monitoring. So I honestly felt like I was like the naughty school child being sent to
Yeah.
the mistress. It was quite funny. But again, she was so great in that she acknowledged that this was a trust policy and she
Yeah.
recognized it could be stressful. And she also affirmed that I could say no to anything anytime.
Yeah. It
So
makes such a
she was
difference. Like they can
mm,
still do the job they need to do and still
mm,
talk to you about the things they need to talk to you about. But it's so it makes such a difference when they phrase it like that, and really take the time to reassure you and to validate how you feel, because rather than just saying, well, it's trust policy, you need to go and have this done,
Mm.
which is the way some of them speak.
Yeah.
Just kind of giving it to you, this is our policy, you don't need to do it, this is just what we need to do, you don't have to do it, is refreshing. It's nice.
So refreshing. Yeah. So I went for my scan. I was at 41 weeks on the day of the scan, and I did the monitoring on the first monitoring on the same day. Everything was fine. So she was bang on 50th percentile. So they couldn't tell me she was too big, and they couldn't tell me she was too small.
No, yeah, she's perfect
on average. So, and then we just went up to the ward. I think it was like 4 o'clock on a Friday. It was dead quiet. We went up to the ward afterwards, and lovely, lovely midwife there as well. And she was really funny because she was like, "You're here because you don't want to be induced, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "I do sometimes wish other people would say no." And I was like, "Oh, that's so encouraging."
Wow, so, isn't that interesting?
Very. So yeah, I did the monitoring, and she was absolutely fine. But she did say, because it had gone past 5 o'clock, she said, actually, there's not a consultant here to chat to because the one that's on call is somewhere doing something, and the person who's on the day shift is gone. So she said, would you mind coming back tomorrow to just see the consultant? So I was like, that's fine, like we don't live too far. So we were back again the next day, speak to the consultant. And I was quite nervous about that because I wasn't sure what to expect. But that consultant was so chill, and he was like, God. "Oh yeah, we'll do monitoring, and doesn't have to be every day. Like we'll monitor you every few days."
Amazing.
And the midwife that was with him that morning was like, "Really?"
So how weird! Like the experience, it differs.
Yeah,
it's so mad. Different. Like you could go somewhere else, or you could see a completely different consultant, and the pressure they might have put on you. This is kind of one of the things that's kind of annoying about the NHS. Like, there's no consistency in anything. Everyone just kind of does what they want and says what they want, which in a way is good, I suppose, because it confirms that all of it, they're just guessing. Like there's no hard or fast rule with anything with birth. There's no like, well, you have to have this done at this point, otherwise this is definitely going to happen. It's all just guessing. So yeah, them saying, their policy is 40 days plus 12, it literally is just a guess. The next person's going to tell you it's something different.
Yeah, I definitely found like different people's interpretations, shall we say, of things were different. So but it was nice because it meant that we had the weekend when I didn't have to go to like monitoring for a few days, so that was quite nice. And then I think what they did then is they booked me in on the Tuesday for another monitoring session, and then I had a community midwife appointment on that day anyway, and they did say, "Oh, you don't have to do that, you can cancel it if you want." But I was feeling very supported by them, so I opted to keep it. So, and I'm really glad I did. So then when we got there, I think I had the weekend, at that point you are really hoping every hour you're going to labor, spending hours on my wall, and doing lots of taking one day at a time, doing lots of breathing, but so we got there, and I did opt to have a sweep on that day. I was really on the fence about it, but I went for it, and my community midwife did it, but she said she couldn't reach cervix, so it was
hard
and not helpful because I was at that point like 41 plus 4. So I was like, oh gosh, because you're just really hoping, gosh, we must be close.
I know.
Please. And I had decided at that point, like, I've got to have a cut-off date. So now the week before Christmas.
Oh, of course,
So I decided that Monday the 22nd was my cut-off, and she hadn't arrived by then, so I would have been 42 plus 3.
Oh, okay. Well, that's still giving yourself another week, really.
Yeah, it was another week. So I said, I'm going to give it till then, and then I'll book an induction for that day about it. Like, I knew it was the right thing for everyone, for us, but I was still not happy about it.
Of course,
And then so after she did the sweep, I went straight up to the ward for my monitoring. But I didn't have my husband with me because I thought it was just a routine monitoring. I didn't realize the consultant would want to come and speak to me again, different consultant.
Oh no.
So he came, and he was lovely, very like nice guy, but I think I was very tired. I think it was emotional, hormonal. I think I just didn't follow what he was saying at all.
Right.
And there was kind of conversations about the sweep and conversations. He just kept saying unfavorable cervix. And I was starting to think, my body's not, they've got
Yeah.
trust that I can do this. They just don't think my body's going to be ready.
Yeah.
And they said that if I did have the induction, I wouldn't be able to go home. So I would have to be on the ward. And I basically then got really upset because I think I was
Yeah.
quite confused at what had come out
Yeah.
of that conversation. And I was like, I'm crying. Like
Oh.
midnight, I was just like, I just don't understand our
Oh.
conversation that we've just had. And they were very sweet. They made me a cup of tea and had some toast and we chatted about
Oh.
it a bit more. And but it was just quite confusing. Like the
Yeah.
information of, I think the one thing that really had gotten me very worked up as well is I had said to him, I was like, look, the thing that I don't want is the Syntocin. And he goes, oh, well, but I know you're worried about it, but it's really quite natural, really, because it's based on a natural hormone. And I could literally feel my blood boiling because I was like, I know, it's called synthetic. That means not natural, not real. So
Oh, that's annoying.
feel very angry. And yeah, so I think that had got my blood like, yeah, I got myself
It's
a
just a
cry.
complete lie.
I know,
Like
well,
that's
I
just
knew
not
that.
true.
And
And
that,
you knew that.
yeah,
Like
I
this is
knew
the
it.
thing, like
Yeah.
you knew. How many people out there are
Yeah.
being told that and they
Mm,
don't know that that's not true and they're going ahead with it because they think it's natural.
I know, I know. And by that
So
point,
annoying.
I was having to make a decision. Is this the right thing for today? Like not being induced, this is the right thing for today. And it was a daily decision. And so
Yeah,
I was reading as much as I could. So I was reading Sarah Wickham's books and
great. Yeah.
the community midwife had also was really into her as well. So she she gave me the confidence that I wasn't being like ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
there was evidence to back this up, that it was
Yeah.
scientific, that it was sensible, that we
Yeah.
were both had a clean bill of health, and that actually that was enough information for me to go, yes, this is the right decision for another day. But to then be told outright it was natural, I was like, no,
No. No, 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 no.
no, no, no.
He needs to go back to school.
No. So I was quite like upset by this point, and
Yeah.
I think it was also taking its toll, like just the waiting. So and my husband was very sad that he hadn't been with me.
Yeah, of
Because
course.
I think if he'd been there, it would have been a bit easier. But
Yeah.
anyway, so yeah, so I thought, okay, so we've got the weekend to wait. I realized that I was quite very negative about induction.
Okay.
And I also realized that the chances of me having one were getting higher.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
so I thought, right, I listened, I looked on the podcast for birth stories when somebody had an
Yeah.
induction. I thought, actually, I'm going to just have to,
Yeah.
we're going to go with it. People have had really positive experiences. And I
Yeah.
listened to this lady talk about having that moment where she was really upset also about having induction. And I think her husband had said something like, if you're going to have that, this is quite like straight talking, if you're going to have that attitude, you're definitely going to have a negative
I
experience.
remember.
So
I
I
remember that one.
and I was like, this is so true for me.
Yeah.
And I completely took that on board.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to change
Tough.
my
It's tough love. Tough love.
tough love. But I
Yeah.
needed it. And so I was like, do you know what? That's fine. That's what we're going to do. We are going to have a positive attitude to induction.
Yeah.
If we get there, that's the right thing for us. And we
Yeah.
are on board and we're going to just go with it. And it massively helped because I
Oh,
knew
good.
I got to the point where I was fine if she
Yes.
arrived and I was fine if she didn't.
Good. Yes.
And so it was a whole journey of like accepting all
Yeah.
the different scenarios and going back to originally thinking, a very set on one way of giving birth and
Yeah.
realizing actually needing to let go of that.
It's so hard because like the longer your pregnancy does last, the less options you do tend to have, even though you don't. But I think you're it starts to just get a lot smaller in terms of like what you're able to go with, and it is really difficult because we all at the beginning don't imagine that that's where it will end up, and
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's difficult to come to terms with that. Actually, I'm
Yeah.
getting, I am getting further along now, and as much as we do know that that is fine and all of those things, it is mentally really difficult.
And I think nobody thinks that they're going to be the person that goes over 40
Yeah,
weeks. So I'd
they
listen to
don't.
people who had, and I'm so grateful for those people who came on the podcast again, who'd gone
Yeah,
over 42 weeks. I listened to loads of those stories as well,
yeah,
because I knew that people had done it and it was okay. And I knew from our medical history and the research that I'd done, I was like, I'm happy with this. But nobody thinks they're going to be that
I
person.
know,
I
I
didn't think I
know.
would be that person, but
Yeah. The
it,
reality can feel different.
it can,
it can
yeah.
definitely feel one way in your mind of, well,
Yeah.
if that's me, this is what I'm going to do. But actually the reality of it, it can
No.
feel really different. And that's okay. Like you just shouldn't be too
Right.
hard on yourself if you do get to that stage and you do start to feel different.
Yeah, I
It's
think that's it.
fine. All you can do is make the choices in the moment that
Yeah,
with the info you have. Like
the
that's
right
all you can
decision for that day.
do.
That
Yeah.
was, that was it. And I think at
Yeah.
any point, had I felt that it wasn't right to continue just
Exactly.
waiting, yeah, it would have been okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so we're heading towards the weekend again. So I was very fast approaching 42 weeks. And my mum, bless her, had taken 2 weeks holiday from the due date, not
Oh
because
no.
she because she did know, she's a doctor, so she does know that
Oh,
babies don't
fine.
come
Yeah.
right. But she had this annual leave to take. So she had thought, well, the baby will arrive at some point, during these 2 weeks. So she was reaching under this
Oh
annual
no.
leave, and I was thinking, oh no. She said she has
Hurry up.
never been so prepared for Christmas in her entire life.
I bet. Yeah.
But the emotional side of it was getting a bit taxing. And she said, look,
Mm.
what was going to happen is I was going to phone her when I was in labor and she was going to come down. She lives in Scotland. But
Oh, wow.
um, she said, look, shall I just come for the weekend? And then I knew that
Yeah.
if nothing happened, I'd be induced on the Monday and she'd be around. And
Okay.
unfortunately, she had to work the 23rd and 24th of December
Oh,
because as a doctor, like it's rotated months in
right.
advance. And
Right.
she had assumed that those 2 weeks, or she had, with the information she had, she was thinking, well, likely, those 2 weeks
Yes.
will arrive.
Yeah.
So I was also quite conscious of that as well. So she came for the weekend, and that really, it just really helped. So the whole atmosphere was like, cool. If we're
Yeah.
being induced on Monday, we've
Yeah.
got an endpoint. If she arrives over the weekend, great.
Yeah.
And she like cooked us loads of food and stuff. So that was really
Oh,
great.
nice.
But I was at that point over that weekend, I was getting quite intense contractions in the middle of the night, but then they would
Okay.
fizzle out in the morning. And this happened for like 3 days. And
Okay.
so it's quite hard because you keep thinking, oh, will it be today? Will it be today? And then
Yeah.
it fizzled out again. But by the Sunday, I woke up at 5 o'clock and I was like, yeah, this is different. Like we are,
Oh,
maybe I woke up
yeah.
early, I can't remember. But yeah, we were moving somewhere. And they
Yeah.
did. I expected them, as I learned, I expected them to dip during the day and to become less
Yeah.
frequent and then to ramp up again in the evening. But I could tell, I don't know, I think I could just tell
Yeah.
we were moving. So that was also encouraging because I thought, oh, induction probably won't be necessary on Monday.
Yes. Yes.
Or even if it is, we're at
Yeah.
least progressing. And I had
You're
also,
ready.
yeah, I was ready. And also I had started to lose my mucus plug, which was also
Okay.
really encouraging because I knew that the induction, if I needed to have it, wouldn't be
Hmm.
starting from zero. We would already be moving, and so that would
Yeah.
likely be higher chance of it being more successful. So so we had a really nice chilled day. We had a little walk and watched a movie, and then I think I maybe had a bit of a sleep, and then in the evening. I things were starting to ramp up again, so I just took myself to my room and had my yoga mat out and just did some breathing and listened to some tracks. And then we were definitely sort of moving towards more regular contractions. The only hilarious thing was that they do a tractor run by us,
Oh,
and there's like hundreds of tractors. Maybe there's not hundreds, but there's a lot of tractors that they all go past decorated in like things.
yeah, of course.
I
Yeah.
said to my husband, I was like, what happens if we need to go to the hospital while they're in the middle of the tractor run? He's like, well, you just have to wait because there's too many.
Oh my God.
I was actually kind of like really contracting at that point, but I wasn't quite at the point. But it was quite funny.
Oh,
So I sat
good. Oh
by
my
the pool
God.
watching all the tractors go
Oh,
past them,
nice.
which is very nice.
Oh, that's so festive as
Oh, it's
well.
pretty festive, yeah. And then and I just went around the house. We had candles on. I turned all the lights off, which definitely was vibing with being dark. We had the
Nice.
fire on, so it was very, very chill. And I think things started to ramp up quite quickly. I think because I just was so relaxed.
Yeah.
And then did all my like UFO positions, and I think about 9 or 10 o'clock, I was getting to 3 in 10 minutes. And
Yeah.
it seemed to be ramping up quicker than I had anticipated. So
Okay.
my mum was a bit like, oh, you're going to be in the hospital soon. And I was like, oh, not yet, not yet. Like, I think we need to wait a bit longer. And I thought we'll have a bath. I'll have a bath and just like see how that
Yeah.
goes. But I think because it took me a bit by surprise, I mean, a first time mum, I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
I think I did have a bit of a moment of a freak out
Hmm.
as to like how quick and fast they were coming. And I was a bit like, oh my goodness, this is happening. And it was so interesting that the minute that that happened, it all slowed down. Um,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so I got in the bath and we phoned the hospital and it
Yeah.
was starting to slow down. They were like, you can come in any time for to be checked if, or whatever you're comfortable with, but you haven't had a contraction while we've been on the phone. So if your
Right.
plan is to stay at home for as long as possible, maybe just give it another half hour and phone us back and see how you're feeling.
Yeah.
So oh, we said we'd wait. And over
Yeah.
that half hour, things just seemed to like almost completely
Oh
stop.
no.
I was just like so disappointed.
Oh.
And I think in hindsight, I'm like, oh, well, it was going to happen at some point. But hindsight's
Yeah.
in the moment, I'd been waiting
Yeah.
for such a
Yeah.
long time. We've been doing this for days. I was
Yeah.
exhausted. So to feel like it was easing off again was just like it was really, really hard. So I felt like I had two options. I was like, either I can go downstairs and like will them to come back. And that was like a big temptation to go downstairs and be like, I will sit in the dark with my
Yeah.
user and my like,
Yeah.
candles on and will them to come back. But I really felt like the sensible thing to do was for us to all go to bed. So I
I
said
know.
to my husband, I said, look, you definitely need to go to bed and sleep
Mm.
because I don't know what the next 24 hours,
No.
48 hours will bring. So I sent him off to bed and my mom had actually taken herself to bed. So I got myself ready and I thought I will sleep if I can sleep and we'll just see what happens. And I texted
It's
my mom.
it's it's a
Sorry, go
difficult decision it's so
on. Really
difficult because
hard.
you feel like if you go to sleep, like obviously going to sleep is the right thing to do, but if
Yeah.
you that feeling of if I go to sleep, it really
Might
does
go,
like
might
mean
go
that
away.
yeah, it has stopped. And the reality of it is that actually going to sleep and having rest is the thing most likely to make it start again. But God, it's so hard. Like all you want to do is probably like bounce on your ball and like walk
Oh,
around
I
and try and get it
definitely did.
going.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I was able to recognize, I think, that I would have been doing that out of a place of
Yeah.
anxiety rather than a place of
Yeah.
calm. And so,
Yeah.
actually, in hindsight,
Yeah.
I'm very proud of myself for making that call.
Very. I think that is like a
It's really
really, that's a
hard.
hard decision to make. And I think you definitely made the right call. And actually, you would have just exhausted yourself even further.
Yeah,
And it wouldn't
totally.
have, like, if birth's going to happen, it's going to happen. Like, you cannot force it to happen. So if you go to sleep, if it's going to happen, it will wake you up.
It'll wake you up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I, I thought I texted my mum because I thought, oh, she wakes up and the house is quiet. She might think that we've gone to hospital because the
Oh,
last thing
yeah.
she knew was that I was in the bath and like things were kind of moving.
Right.
Um, and so I thought I'll text her, and she didn't. I thought she was probably still awake, but she didn't look at her phone. And I thought, actually, do you know what? I'm just going to go wake her up and tell her what's going on.
Yeah.
And then this was possibly, I mean, this is probably one of the most special moments now, I would say, of my life, which was just
Oh,
so amazing. So I went in and I sat in bed next to her. She was in our spare room, and I just said, "Mom, everything stopped, and I'm just feeling so despondent." Um,
oh,
and she was half asleep, but she just kind of like stroked me, and she stroked the baby, and she was like speaking like blessings over the baby. So our Christian faith is very important to us, so that was amazingly important to
oh,
me. She
that's
was
so
like blessing the baby,
sweet.
and I had a little cry, and then I think I must have fallen asleep like very much propped up on the side of the gas bed, and she fell asleep again. And I think it can't have been more than an hour and a half or so, hour and a half, but slowly I started to feel like things come back again. And I think it was just that beautiful moment of just feeling so safe.
That is so
Like
special because, like, with your mum, yeah,
yeah,
that's so special. Like, you just needed your mum and you just
it's
needed her to, like, tell you it was all right.
yeah,
And
100%.
yeah,
And
how
so I
special is that?
a very, very special moment. I've hardly been able to talk about it without crying actually, but
Yeah, I bet
it
that
was
makes you really,
just
like, well up.
yeah, it made me really realize how important feeling safe is. And
Yeah.
that at that point in time, that was the safest place. So
Oh, that is so
um
sweet.
that was very special. And so
Yeah.
she was asleep. I realized things were starting to move again. So I came downstairs by myself and sat on the ball. And I think husband joined me about 4:30, and I was starting to it was different from before, and it was really ramping up. I was starting to get quite vocal as well, which again, I heard people talk
Oh,
about, it really surprised me.
yeah.
But it just comes out. There's no stopping
Yeah,
it.
it does.
It
Yeah.
comes out. And so yeah, eventually he just called the hospital to say, okay, we're coming in. It just seemed very much to be moving. So, and I was thinking,
Right.
actually, this is now feels very different. I'm like really having to breathe, work through these. So yeah, the drive is always always interesting.
Yeah.
I made it in, made it up to the ward, and they wanted to just put me on the ward to assess me before, but they did say the pool room was available. So they didn't want to send me to the delivery suite straight away. So
Did your mum go with you?
she didn't. We were umming and
Right.
ahhing about what to do, but I said actually, let's just get there and
Yeah.
settle, and we'll text. I said we'll text you later on
Oh.
and let
So
you
she
know.
had no idea.
So no, I think she maybe did wake up. I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
She did know. Yeah, she did know
Yeah.
that we had gone, and I
Yeah.
think we decided she would stay and come later.
Okay.
But so the first midwife we got was so respectful of the fact that I was hypnobirthing. She was so calm. She kept the lights really low. She was so gentle. She was like, I
Oh.
found it very weird, but she said she was finding it very hard to tell when I was having
Oh.
contractions. I felt like I was like, is it not obvious? I'm like mooing. But apparently it wasn't that obvious. So she was like, I'm finding it quite hard to tell, but we'll just monitor you for a little bit. And she was lovely. And then she went off shift because the shift
Oh
changed
no.
at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then the person that came on next, bless, was very sweet, but she was very old school. Turned on all the
Oh.
lights, talked in a very loud voice. I
Stop
was like,
it.
no. And they said, once I've been on the monitor for a while, they said, okay, you are contracting regularly, but it's not quite as regular to say you're in like established labor.
Okay.
So she was like, right, so you will go into labor today. I was like, I've been like,
I better.
and she's like, but you're not really there yet. So we could keep you on the ward for a little while, maybe go for a walk. And so reluctantly went for this walk and then sorely regretted it because obviously all the really bright hospital lights began
Yeah.
to ease off again. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I was
Oh
like, we have been
no.
doing this for days. So I said to my husband, I was like, look, when we go back up there, if they're going to tell me like, you need to stay on the ward, I was like, I'm going home.
Yeah.
Said, yeah, I think you're right. I think that's the right decision because this environment
Yeah.
is not good for
Yeah.
you. So we got back up there and I was like, and she said, I'm going to try and get you a room for later, but there isn't a room for you at the moment. And I think you just need to stay on the ward for a while. I was like, I've been in this ward every single day for monitoring. I know what it's like. I'm not kidding. Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is not conducive to
Yeah.
a like efficient labor. And so I
Yeah.
just told them I was going home. And she was like, well, you can't really go home because you're now 40, you're now 42 plus 3 and you need to stay in. And I said, well, if I'd just not come in, I would still be at home. So I
Yeah.
was like, I think I'm going to go home.
What the hell? Like, yeah, you can just go home.
I'll be leaving. And I was like, I'll come back. When
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
not going to not come back.
Exactly.
Anyway, interestingly enough, a room materialized when I
Oh, that is interesting, isn't it?
So anyway, they then actually just they led me to the pool room and I was there for the rest of the time. But it is interesting how it took me 4 hours to probably get back to where I'd been
Yes.
when
Yeah.
I come in and just to gel with the space because I suddenly realized I was like, what am I doing here that's comfortable? I'd been in my groove a bit at home, so that transition was quite bumpy, but I found a good groove of like I had a small peanut ball that's actually meant for like massaging your back. I
Oh,
found
okay.
pushing that against my sacrum really
Yeah.
nothing else was doing it, but that was really doing it. And the birth
Oh,
code.
yeah.
So that combination. So I was like spending all of my contractions pushing my back into this ball, into the wall, and gripping this.
Yeah.
And that worked really well for like, yeah, quite a number of hours. And then my mum and husband did a bit of a switcheroo and she came back about midday and again was amazing. She was like a doula. She was like stroking the baby through every contraction. She was just like,
Oh.
saying lovely like blessings and
Oh.
um yeah, and she was just I was kind of like moving between sitting on the ball to have a rest to like pushing my back into the ball. My feet were getting quite sore. So
Yeah.
but yeah, it was working and we were in a groove. So we went with it and then things were starting to get yeah, like a bit more intense. And My midwife that I had was also, I have to say, really, really good. She was so respectful. She read the birth plan. She said, I'm
Right.
not going to intervene with anything. If you want anything, you just ask me and I'm there. And she would just come in every so often and observe.
Yeah.
But I think because she was observing, she was starting to say things like, I think you're in labor, but like I'm starting to struggle to tell a little bit. And
Yeah.
I had said that I didn't want examination, mainly because I didn't want the conversation of it being you're only 2 centimeters.
Yeah.
Only I thought that I'd find that would really set me back. But eventually, I think realized that actually they had no idea where I
Yeah.
was at.
Yeah.
So I agreed to have one, and I just said, "Look, I don't want to know. Will you please tell my husband, and
Yeah.
he will filter that information." And so she did the exam, and then she went outside with my husband to discuss, and he came back in, and he was like, "I think it's time to get in the pool." So I knew that we were
Ooh.
moving, and that was really
So
that
he
big.
didn't tell you what
He
you
didn't
were.
tell
He
me. No,
just, oh, good,
yeah,
good husband.
yeah, he was great. It was great. I was actually 5 centimeters at the
Were
time.
you?
Uh,
Wow.
so yeah, so that was a big shift for me because I was like, okay, we're moving, and I decided to have some gas and air at that point and
Yeah.
moved in the pool. And I think at that point they really thought the baby might be delivered before the end of her shift. We still had a really long way to go, but I'm really glad that I didn't know that. And but yeah, I think I just relaxed in the pool. I think in hindsight, I wonder if I maybe slowed things down because I wasn't
Yes, it can.
and I was
It did for
very
me. Yeah.
chilled, but I was so relaxed.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing was I was so exhausted. I was micro napping, and I was
Oh,
literally micro napping between contractions and then waking up and like going through it. But I wasn't. I was quite happy, but I was
yeah.
having like the weirdest dreams. I like woke up and went, "Oh, it's a shame nobody's done anything about that cat." And my mom was like, "Cat?" And I was like, "Oh, the cat is there."
I love that. That's great.
Totally like, but yeah. So we carried on, and then I think the only thing was, I think we must have been now after midnight where they were doing the intermittent monitoring. They had recommended continuous, but I had said no. I said, well, we'll stick with the intermittent unless we are worried about anything.
Yeah.
So baby's heart rate, they'd had 4 readings in a row that
Right.
had been a bit high. So
Okay.
that's about what to do and said, okay, I think it would be good to just have you on the monitor for half an hour just so we make sure that she's all right. So came out the pool and went on the monitor, and I think they were thinking that some of my waters hadn't broken, so we're thinking
Oh,
that maybe
yeah.
the pressure from the waters was had, yeah, made her. I don't
Stressing
think
her
so.
a
She
bit.
wasn't distressed, so it turned out that she was
Right.
absolutely fine.
Right.
But I think by that point I was very tired and quite, and I was a bit confused because I think we
Yeah.
had the same conversation about 5 times, and I think I was worried. They did another exam because I was starting to want to push, and they weren't sure if I was fully dilated. So I was
Right.
a bit worried that I wasn't shouldn't be pushing, and I was a bit worried that my water should have broken, but they hadn't. And
Yeah.
I think they had explained it to me multiple times, but I just wasn't kind of going.
Yeah.
That was definitely the low point for me. I was quite confused as to
Right.
what was happening, but yeah, my husband was really good, and
Good.
they said, "Baby's fine, we're all good, we can continue." And I was like,
Good.
"Yeah, I want to push," and they're like, "That's fine if you want to push." Push, and I was like, "But
Okay.
I'm gonna hold
Good.
the baby," and they're like, "No, no, definitely not. You're gonna be fine." Just and I was feeling quite a lot of pressure, I think, from the waters. And but then I suddenly had this like, oh, I really need to pee because I don't want to get to the point where she's coming and I need the catheter. So tried to
Yeah.
go and pee, and then I thought, oh, on the loo, I was like, oh no, is she going to be born on the loo? And then I think I was basically really spaced by that point. But my husband was like, do you want to get back in the pool because you wanted to give birth in the pool? And I think I just stared at him like quite blankly. So he took the call and he was like, we're getting back in the
Yeah.
pool. So
You decide for me. I can't decide.
So I was so glad he did that because he knew
Yeah.
that's what I wanted. And the moment I was kind of
Yeah. You can also wee in
slightly,
the pool. Like
yeah,
it's sometimes easier to just let it go in the pool, you know?
I can't remember what I did in the end, but yeah. And I think once I was back in the pool, everything was like it was fairly straightforward from there. And
Mm. Wow.
yeah, during the pushing, I literally only visualized that coffee plunger, and
The
I
coffee
was like,
plunger is so good.
squeeze in, calves out, coffee plunger. There's
Yes.
2 thoughts, and that was yeah,
Yeah.
that's what did it.
Did
And
it help? It helped.
it did really help because I just
Yeah.
only think of that one thing,
Yeah.
which was really
It's
good.
helpful.
Yeah, and then yeah, and I think I did know I could feel that like burn sensation.
Hmm.
And so I knew, I was like, okay, she's on the way. But I also had heard that sometimes they do a little bit of like in and out, and I was like, no.
Yes.
I think I was so desperate to have her by that point. So I did push quite hard,
Yeah.
her a little bit, but
Yeah.
I was just, she needs to be out.
Yeah.
But yeah, and she arrived, and she was happy and healthy,
Wow.
and yeah, absolutely gorgeous. And then
Oh.
yeah, I was completely exhausted afterwards, and I was a little bit, sore after stitches and things.
Yeah.
And I think immediately in hindsight, it was like, was that positive? I'm not sure if it was.
I think that's quite normal to
Been
feel like
awake
that.
for 48 hours
Yeah.
would be a bit like, but as
Yeah.
hindsight, as I processed it a
Yeah.
lot over the days as they went. I thought about it so much, it just kept coming
Yeah.
back to me. And as I processed it and understood what had happened, like I really realized it was really positive, it was really
Yeah.
peaceful. um
Yeah.
and yeah, and I
Yeah.
was just, yeah, really grateful for, I actually received really good care in general from the
Yeah.
midwives. They were just
That
really
goes a long way to making it feel positive as well, the care that you receive.
mm.
What about your mum? So what day was she born? Was she born on the 22nd or the 23rd?
Oh, we'd gone into the 23rd.
23rd. So did your mum have to go leave to go back to Scotland?
Poor mum.
Oh.
So she left the hospital about 6 a.m. after we'd done all the checks and everything, and she came back to our house, and she slept for, I don't know, 3 4 hours. She came back to the hospital to collect her phone because she'd forgotten it, and then she drove straight all the way back to Scotland to go
Oh my
do her
God.
nursing home round.
Oh my God.
She arrived, she went straight to work, did her nursing home visits, and then I think she arrived home about 9 o'clock in that night. I think my dad said she just, yeah, let it all out after that. She was just
I can like
witnessed
I
the
can
birth of my
relate.
grandson.
Like,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
And then you've had to like drive back home, work. Like
Yeah.
birth is so intense as a birth partner. And obviously it's 10 times more intense when you're giving birth, but like as a birth partner, I can totally relate to how she must have felt in that like she just been through all of that with you.
Yeah, yeah.
It's obviously like a whole mix of emotions and like so
Mm.
intense. And
Yeah.
then yeah, you cram in like a few hours sleep and then carry on. And it's yeah, it takes I bet it took her a little while to recover from that.
Yeah, I think it probably did.
Good
Yeah.
job she'd done all of her Christmas planning.
I know,
I
yeah. She was so
mean,
organized. Yeah,
good job that she was so organized for
so
Christmas.
organized.
She didn't have to think about
Yeah.
that at all.
I know, I know. And I think it was very interesting for her because when she had done her like obstetrics training and stuff, she never
Yeah,
experienced a birth like that because
I
she wasn't
bet.
be needed in that situation. So I think she was like, wow, it was so different. And she also said what was really funny was that my daughter, she was like, normally babies like they like crown and then you wait and then she was like, she just came out in the pool. Just
You
like
were like
just,
done now.
just, yeah. So yeah. So
Oh, that's so
yeah.
sweet. And so
Yeah.
you were you home later that day? Did you have to stay in at all? You're right.
We were actually home later that day. They asked me what I wanted
Oh,
to do. They were a little bit short on rooms. The Tuesday was a C-section, planned C-section day, so it was busy anyway on postnatal rooms. And I think we did move to a postnatal room later that day. And then I said that I would quite like to go home.
yeah.
And then they were planning on moving me back to the ward anyway. And I was like, okay, no, definitely want to go home.
No.
So we did go home about 5 p.m. That evening, and I think that was the right call. It was really
Yeah, I
nice to have
bet.
you in our own space, and we were both fine.
Yeah.
So yeah,
How was her weight? What did she weigh?
she was 8 pounds 6. Yeah,
No,
so
I'll see. That's
she
like
was not
that's totally
particularly
fine.
massive for being
And you were
42 plus
what were you 42 plus 4?
4. Yeah,
Wow, 42 plus
yeah.
4. I love these stories because so many people do go over 42. Like, well, I mean, to be fair, it doesn't happen a lot. A lot of people go to 42 weeks or over 41 weeks. They're in that kind of 41 to 42 week
Yeah.
mark. And I feel like it comes with this just like level of anxiety. Like I had 2 births last week and they were both in their 41st week. And even me, like I never thought both of them would go over 41
Yeah,
weeks. I thought, well, surely one of them will give birth before that. But
yeah,
nope, they both went well into their 41st week. And there's this like real anxiety that I think comes with it. So it's so nice to have the stories of the people that went over 42 weeks because it
mm,
does happen and it is normal. And, babies aren't born necessarily like gigantic just because you've gone over 42 weeks. Your daughter was like perfectly normal
yeah,
weight and size. And, that's why probably she didn't come until that point. Like she just
Yeah.
wasn't ready.
Yeah, and I think also, I think how the birth went has also influenced my looking back on that period, confirming that I made the right decision for us. But also,
Yeah.
she's been so happy and healthy. So,
Uh,
like, yeah, and just a really content, like, healthy baby. And I just,
yeah. Yeah. It's got to start. It's got to
just
start with birth. Like,
been, it was the right decision for us. Yeah. I know
yeah.
a different pregnancy,
Yeah.
different baby, maybe it would have been
Yeah.
different, but for her and for me, it's
Yeah.
the right decision. So,
It
yeah.
has to start there, doesn't it? Like the entrance into the world and the no being forced out or pressure or anything like that has
Yeah.
resulted in her being, really content and
Mm.
happy. So, oh, thanks, Rachel. That was a great story. I love that. So many like little twists and turns.
You know, it was, yeah. And I think that was it, is that actually, yeah, the hypnobirthing really helped me. It's kind of managing your own thoughts and your own mind,
Mm,
and also the advocacy, and the
mm,
decision making. And I think I have definitely tended to be a bit of a people pleaser throughout my life. And I think I would have found being very assertive about what I wanted very uncomfortable in years
yeah,
gone by. And I think I was really equipped with those tools because that's what I needed. And I think I would have
yeah,
really regretted feeling a conviction to do one thing and then actually being swayed to do something else because
yeah,
that was the norm, or, you know.
yeah.
So, yeah.
I think
So,
it's a good lesson. Like it's a good lesson to teach us how to do that because, yeah, I think when we're younger, so many of us do just sort of go along with what
mm,
people think we should do and say we should do. So it's a real empowering like
it was
moment to be
very
able to stick
empowering.
up for yourself, but also her, you're
Yeah.
doing it for both of you. It's not just
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
I thought if I sign away my decision making for my daughter now, then, like,
yes.
how is that gonna, like, carry on? I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm her caretaker. I'm here
Yeah.
to protect her and guide her in her life. If I don't start now at her birth, when I really feel
Yeah.
this is the right thing for us to do, then, it's not, yeah,
A-
not ideal.
Absolutely. That's worth considering, definitely.
So,
Oh, it's lovely. Thank you so much for sharing it. It'll be so helpful for people. I know it will because you're one of the ones that has gone over 42 weeks.
waited
You're
a while.
crazy. You're crazy cat.
Yeah,
But no, yeah, it'll be really helpful. Thank you so much.
absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you. Bye.